chosen ones. If you have the mark of the waxing moon in the palm of your hand, listen carefully. This mark is not there by chance. It is a point of activation, a sign that changes will happen this month, visible, intense, and unavoidable. Those who have this mark are entering a cycle that does not accept stagnation. This gentle curve in the palm, similar to a crescent moon, activates phases of cutting, transition, and expansion. It has nothing to do with luck. It has to do with preparation. Its presence indicates that you are being pulled into a new alignment. And if you try to hold on to the old, you will feel the weight. The path now is adjustment and advancement. From here, everything starts to move. People disappear, doors close, and others open. Thoughts change, priorities shift. You will feel a different kind of restlessness, because it is not anxiety. It is real internal movement. The mark activates a turnaround, and those who feel it know. The old is tiring. The new calls. Now, before we continue, follow the channel and activate notifications. This keeps you connected with the upcoming announcements. What is coming is not light nor random. It is necessary to be ready, informed, aligned. A step out of time can delay everything. So do that now and come back. Let's get started. Here are the 7 changes that will happen to those who carry the waxing moon in their hands. A silent spiritual awakening. You wake up feeling different, but you can't explain it. The same things no longer touch you as they used to. Conversations with loved ones sound empty. The series that distracted you no longer captivates you. The clothes, the places, the routine. Everything feels worn out. It's as if the world continues the same, but you have changed inside. The feeling is one of dislocation. Being among people but feeling distant. Participating but not truly engaging. You even try to force yourself to smile, to keep up with the rhythm. But there is something pulling you inward. A silent call. You no longer want to distract yourself. You want to understand. You no longer want to please. You want to find yourself. This awakening begins in small moments. You notice that you talk less and observe more. You feel the desire to spend time alone. The presence of certain people begins to tire you. Not because they have changed, but because you can no longer sustain old roles. The effort to maintain appearances begins to weigh. A deep discomfort arises. A restlessness that you can't name. Nothing serious but constant. It's not pain, it's awareness. And awareness hurts at first, because it shows you where you are betraying yourself, where you are repeating what no longer serves you. And the more you try to ignore it, the more this discomfort grows. You start seeking silence, not to escape, but to listen. Because deep down, you know that something wants to speak. A part of you that has always been there, but that lived suppressed by external noise. Now, it wants space. And you, even without knowing exactly how, begin to give that space. Little by little, you realize that this silence has sound. And that sound comes from within. It's your intuition coming back to life. You start to remember who you were before so much interference, before so many demands. You begin to question what you previously accepted without thinking. And you realize how much you have been acting on autopilot. Questions suddenly appear. What am I doing with my life? Is this really what I want? Why do I feel so trapped if everything seems fine on the surface? These questions don't come with ready-made answers, but they are already a sign. A turning point. When they arise, it's because the process has already begun. You start to reevaluate old decisions. Things that seemed certain begin to feel tight. A desire to change emerges, not radically, but truthfully. Small adjustments, but with intention. You start to clear the excess, cut away what no longer makes sense, create space to feel. And amidst all this, you begin to reconnect. The connection is not with something mystical or distant. It is with yourself, with a part of you that was forgotten. That you, who knew what you wanted, who felt clearly, who respected yourself. This part returns, fragile at first, but firm. And the more you listen, the more it grows. This awakening has no set date. It begins without warning. It seeps in slowly, and you change without realizing. What once controlled you loses its grip, and something new begins to be born. Still formless, still nameless, but present. A presence that calls you inward, closer to the truth. And even if the world around you continues at the same pace, you are no longer in the same place inside. Something has turned, something has awakened, and it will not sleep again. Liberation from repetitive patterns. You start to notice that certain things that always happened to you have stopped. Situations that used to come in cycles, the same fights, the same mistakes, the same feelings, now simply have no more strength. It's not that everything is resolved, but something inside you has grown tired. And this weariness is what begins to break the pattern. You look back and wonder how you endured living the same way for so long. It's like waking up from a trance. People who used to destabilize you now don't affect you as much. Words that used to hit you no longer penetrate. It's as if a part of you has disconnected from that pain, and what remains is silence and relief. The cycle begins to break the moment you stop reacting the same way. Sometimes, without even realizing it, you change your response. Where there was once anger, now there is calm. Where there was once pressure, now there is indifference. You realize that you no longer need to defend yourself, to justify yourself, to repeat yourself. You let go, and this changes everything. Changes. You also notice patterns in your way of thinking, old fears that came automatically, judgments about yourself, thoughts that repeated like a broken record. Little by little, they begin to lose space. Not because they have disappeared, but because now you observe them. And the simple act of observing takes away the power they had over you. This process can be confusing at first, because the old is still present, but no longer dominates. And the new has not yet completely arrived. There is this space in between, a strange but necessary emptiness. It is in this space that you reposition yourself, where you consciously choose how you want to act from now on, not out of impulse, but by decision. You start to say no more firmly. You begin to end conversations that you previously maintained only out of habit. You stop responding to provocations. You let go of obligations that kept you trapped. This doesn't happen all at once. It comes in waves. But with each small choice, you feel the weight of the old leaving. And this makes you feel lighter. It's common to feel guilt in this process, because breaking patterns also means distancing yourself from people, from stories, from old versions of yourself. But this guilt passes. It comes from habit, not from truth. When you break a cycle, you are not rejecting anyone. You are simply freeing yourself from a script that no longer serves you. You will notice that even your body responds differently. Breathing becomes freer, less tension, less fatigue. This happens because the old pattern was not just mental. It also took over your body. Breaking these cycles gives you back energy that has been drained for years. And this energy goes directly to your reconstruction. The liberation from patterns is not magical. It is movement. And every conscious movement counts. Each time you choose to act differently, a link breaks. Each time you observe the impulse without letting it take you away, the pattern loses strength. And so, little by little, what seemed impossible to change, changes. You will look back and realize that you don't even know how you managed to break free. You just know that you did. And now there is space. Space for new choices, new connections, new ideas. The old cycle has been broken. The chain has fallen. And in place of repetition, possibility is born. Awakening of dormant gifts. You start to notice that something has changed in the way you feel the world. Everything becomes more intense. Places, people, words, everything affects you more. But this time it doesn't throw you off balance. It alerts you. It's as if a new sense has been activated. And with it comes a sensitivity that was previously dormant. Small things touch you. A glance says everything. A song stirs parts of you that you didn't even remember existed. Dreams become more vivid, almost real. Sometimes you wake up feeling that you experienced something important while you slept. You begin to take this seriously, because you know that these dreams are trying to show you something. Your intuition ignites. You think of someone, and the person appears. You sense that something is going to happen. And it does. It's not coincidence. You begin to realize that this sensitivity has always been there. It was just suppressed. The world taught you to ignore these signs, but now they return with force. This awakening brings curiosity. You feel the desire to study topics that were not part of your life before. Spirituality, energy healing, astrology, meditation. Not because someone told you to, but because something inside you is leading you to it. It's as if your soul wants to remember what it already knew. You might even feel startled at first. The mind tries to explain it, but cannot. And that's okay. This isn't rational. It's a realm that doesn't translate into logic. You don't need to understand everything. You need to feel. And trust what you feel. Because this feeling is your gift coming back to the surface. Some old memories resurface. Things from childhood, forgotten talents, interests that were set aside. You begin to reconnect with a more authentic, more intuitive, more true part of yourself. And the closer you get to this, the lighter you feel. As if you are finally returning to the place you should never have left. Over time, you will notice that this sensitivity is not a weakness. It is power, because it gives you vision, it gives you perception, it gives you time. You sense what is to come. You feel what the other doesn't say. You know what is right, even before seeing the result. This is not a gift for the few. It is something everyone has, but not everyone accesses it. What changes is that now you are accessing it. And with this, new doors open. Perhaps you discover a desire to help others, or to transform your own story. Whatever the path, it begins when you accept that this sensitivity is part of your strength, and that it has come to stay. Change of life purpose. At some point, you look around and realize nothing represents you anymore. The place where you are, the job you do, the routine that once seemed right. Everything starts to feel distant from who you have become. It's not drama. It's not a crisis. It's lucidity. A clear perception that the time has come to change. This desire doesn't come from the ego. It's not about success, status, or vanity. It's deeper. It comes from within, like a firm voice that says, "What had to be is over. Now it's another path." And this voice doesn't shout. It whispers with such conviction that you can't ignore it, nor can you pretend you didn't hear it. You start questioning your role in the world. You feel that something greater is waiting for you, but you still don't know what it is. And even without having all the answers, you feel that you can no longer keep forcing what is already worn out. Forcing the old is exhausting. Letting go of the old is liberating, even without guarantees. Maybe you think about quitting your job, moving to a new city, starting something new from scratch. And this scares you. But along with the fear comes a peace, a calm that has no logical explanation. It's as if the unknown embraces you and says, "Trust." And even with doubts, you begin to move forward. The signs intensify. What once flowed begins to get stuck. What made you happy no longer makes sense. Everything points to a turning point. And you realize that it's not just about changing externally. What is changing is actually the way you see your own existence. Some people around you won't understand. They will think that you are losing yourself. But deep down, you know that you are finding yourself. It's not about proving anything to anyone, nor about convincing others. The path is between you and your conscience, and it has already decided to move forward. The old purpose wasn't wrong. It was necessary. It served a role. But now it has expired. The feeling is similar to wearing clothes that no longer fit. No matter how much you try to adjust, it pinches. And the only solution is to take it off. Make space. Breathe again. You begin to open yourself to the new. And the new doesn't come from outside. It comes from within. It reveals itself as you move. The path doesn't appear all at once, but each right step reveals the next. You can't control everything, but you can trust the direction. In this process, you may discover forgotten talents. You may remember old dreams. You may feel the desire to help others, create something of your own, live with more freedom. And all of this makes sense, because the new purpose is not about what you will have. It's about who you will become in the process. This change doesn't have to be radical. It can start small. A tweak here, a different choice there. The important thing is not to ignore the call, because the more you ignore it, the more the world pressures you, until the only way out is to listen to yourself. And if you listen, that is already enough to begin. You are not lost. You are being realigned. The discomfort is not punishment, it is a warning. And if something within you is asking for change, it's because there is already something ready waiting for you. Your only task now is to follow, even with fear, but with truth. Because that indeed changes everything. Connection with something greater. You begin to notice that certain things cease to be mere coincidences. A number repeats several times in the same day. A song plays with the answer you needed to hear. A message arrives exactly at the moment you were thinking about something. Little by little you understand. This is not random. It is communication. These signs do not appear to impress you. They appear to remind you that there is a force accompanying you, a presence that observes everything, that guides with precision, that acts even when you don't understand. This perception changes everything, because you stop feeling alone, lost, or out of place. It's as if life is responding to you all the time, and you just need to pay attention. The repetitions become messages. The delays become protection. The detours show new routes. When something doesn't happen, you understand that it wasn't the right moment. When something arrives, you know it's because your energy called for it. This connection teaches you to trust, not in others, but in something greater, in something you cannot see but can feel. And feeling becomes your new GPS. Intuition begins to speak louder than logic, and you stop chasing after answers. You start to listen to the right questions. You begin to act with more calmness. Even without knowing everything, you feel that you are being led in the right direction. This brings a peace that does not depend on circumstances. The feeling that there is a greater rhythm conducting everything, and that you do not need to control it. You just need to collaborate with this flow. This greater intelligence does not have a fixed name. Some call it God. Others call it universe, presence, consciousness. The name doesn't matter. What matters is that you feel, and when you feel, you recognize. This force has been with you all along, but now you are with it. This changes the way you live. Relationships change, decisions become clearer, fears lose ground. Not because everything becomes easy, but because now you understand that you are being guided, that nothing that happens to you is by chance, that even the difficulties have purpose, and that each step, even the most uncertain ones, are part of something greater. This connection brings a new kind of strength. It is not a strength of resistance. It is a strength of surrender. You stop fighting against everything, and you start to flow with what is. This does not weaken you, it positions you, because now you walk with direction, with awareness, and with certainty that you are being led. Deep down, you have always had this connection, but now it has become evident. Now you feel with your body, with your mind, and with your heart. Now you remember that you are part of something immense, and that you have never been outside of it. Some bonds become stronger. People who were once just acquaintances become a support system. New connections arise with lightness and depth. You begin to seek presence, truth, and reciprocity. You no longer want to accommodate, nor sustain ties that drain your energy. You want genuine exchange, and that is what nourishes you now. The environment also begins to influence you more. Noisy places become bothersome. Spaces with heavy energy exhaust you. Your body feels it, and this leads you to seek more nature, more silence, more authenticity. You begin to withdraw, not out of isolation, but out of necessity. You need to protect yourself to rebuild. Little by little, you come to understand that this external change is a reflection of your new internal state. You no longer fit in places where you have to explain yourself all the time. You no longer want to force conversations, nor be in circles that lack presence. Your energy demands truth, and where there is no truth, you retreat. It's not easy at first. There is guilt. There is nostalgia. You might even try to return, to reclaim old spaces. But something holds you back, because now you see what you previously ignored. And once you see clearly, it's impossible to unsee. You understand that certain relationships only existed because you accepted to diminish yourself within them. Over time, you learn to respect cycles. You learn to honor what was without clinging to it. What needs to go, goes. What is meant to stay, stays. And you stop holding on to what is already loose. This brings deep relief. A lightness that does not come from absence, but from truth. You are surprised by the new quality of the relationships that emerge. Less quantity, more presence. Less convenience, more harmony. Depth becomes more important than duration. And you start to understand that being alone is better than being surrounded and empty. This is the natural filter for those who are changing frequency. You don't need to explain, you just need to keep going. And whatever is real will accompany you in this new phase. A choice that changes everything. There comes a moment when everything boils down to a choice. It doesn't come with fanfare. It doesn't seem significant at first glance. It may be an invitation, a conversation, a decision you would nearly make without thinking. But something inside you feels the weight. It knows that this choice will affect your entire trajectory. Perhaps it is the chance to leave a place where you no longer belong, or to finally say no to something that has always held you back. It may be the decision to move to a new city, accept a new job, start a project, or distance yourself from someone. The size doesn't matter. What matters is the impact it has on your energy. This type of choice carries power because it represents a milestone. It's like turning an invisible key. If you repeat the pattern, everything remains the same. But if you choose differently, even without certainty of the outcome, the world around you begins to respond. The new only enters when you make space for it. Those who have the mark of the waxing moon feel this calling more intensely. Because this choice is not only practical, it is spiritual. It is a turning point. A moment when you stop living on autopilot and start taking a stand. And this requires courage. But it also brings clarity. This choice defines whether you will remain in the old or take a real step toward the new. It reveals whether you are ready for the life you feel you deserve. And even if no one else understands, you will know. This decision is not small. It is a dividing line. And those who choose with awareness transform everything. If you have made it this far, it is because some part of you is already moving. You may not have all the answers, but you feel that something inside has changed. Your perception is different. What once went unnoticed now captures your attention. This is the clearest sign that the call has begun, and it is only yours. This awakening does not require haste. It asks for presence. The path doesn't need to be perfect, but it must be true. From the moment you recognize the inner movement, everything around you begins to adjust. People, places, ideas, goals. Everything starts to align with this new rhythm that is emerging within you. You don't need to wait until you are ready. The change is already happening. The mark of the waxing moon doesn't appear by chance. It is a physical confirmation that your internal cycle has turned. And now you have literally in your hands a new map, a path that will require awareness, courage, and firm choices. Perhaps no one around you understands. Perhaps you yourself are still figuring things out. But this does not stop you from moving forward. You don't need permission, just presence. Life is pushing you forward, and you already know it. Everything that has been said here was already within you. It just needed to be remembered. And now I invite you to do one simple but powerful thing. Comment below if you have the mark of the waxing moon in your hands. Say, "I have it," or describe what you are experiencing at this moment. This strengthens your journey and shows other chosen ones that they are not alone. We will see each other in the next message. Stay strong. You are ready.